Welcome to St. Louis, where the Rivermen have been all oars, full steam ahead downriver, as they have started 3-1 in the Grady Central Division. The problem is they're looking up at Dallas at 5-0 and Wichita at 4-1 and trying to keep their early season win streak going. They welcome in the New Orleans Claws, who are clawing their way in the middle of the pack in the Atlantic Division. They've started 2-3. It's UFL Primetime right here on the Virtual Football Network, and it starts right now. Hello and a very warm welcome. My name is Michael Cervello. Happy to have your company. Cameron Irvine, UFL co-founder, joins me in the booth tonight. Cam, what a wild set of games for the first block, and now we've got St. Louis and New Orleans ready to square off under the lights.
Yeah, Michael, we just can't stop working, can we? And nice to be here in St. Louis with you for a prime time call. Hoping that we get a little bit better offensive execution here tonight after we saw a lot of defense in the early block.
It'll be St. Louis, red helmets, blue jerseys, white pants. To start, and Karen Kaizumi on the field to start for St. Louis. My favorite stat when I was researching this game, Kaizumi is 22nd in rushing yards in the UFL as a quarterback. She likes to get out and move the ball with her leg. And she'll start with a pass over the middle, dumped it, complete to the 29-yard line. That's complete to Homer J, the tight end. Let's meet the St. Louis offense. Three names to watch: Kaizumi at quarterback, Junior McCray at running back, and Homer J, the tight end, who just made that catch. Centrell Howes leading receiver on this offense as well. St. Louis picking the first down on the first play from the scrimmage. Here is Junior McCray, the running back, gets a little bit as we take a look at the New Orleans defense. Main name to watch here, quarterback Jack Toulouse. Also Devontae Hobbs, Bryce Riley. Big names on this defense as well. New Orleans is really going to have to lean on bettering their offense today. We'll talk about that more when the Claws offense comes on the field. Right now it's 3rd and 9, and it's incomplete going down the numbers. Trying to find Shane Sorowski. Correction, that's Jay again. And New Orleans defense will get off the field.
Yeah, that first ball to Jay ended up falling incomplete, and so did that one at the end of that drive. That's a tough catch to make if you're Homer. Almost came down with it. Really good swat at the end of that, but yeah, it's a good start for New Orleans defense. They lost in overtime to New York last week. Played pretty good defensively. Just did not have enough offensively. They've been trying to tool that offense the last few weeks.
New Orleans will just start shy of the 20. Here's Whisker Lafouche, quarterback for the Claws. And I mentioned some offensive struggles for the Claws. They are last in the league in average yards per play at 5.5. 31st, that's second to last, in total passing yards at 846. Lafouche will complete it over the middle on first down. Marching past the 25 is Ray Chapatoulis. And those are the two big games to watch on the offense for New Orleans. Lafouche at quarterback, Chapatoulis at running back, Michael Osbury and Zach Walker, the two wideouts to watch out for as well.
This is not a great receiving crew, Torillo, so there's a lot of effort as a team collective to try to get people in.
Chapatoulis spinning through contact brings up a 3rd and short as we take a look at the St. Louis Rivermen and Maple Mack, defensive tackle. A big name to watch. Also look out for J.J. Flowers at linebacker, Moses Hopkins, and Dynamite McCray and Chris Reed in the secondary.
Mack and McCray have really kind of lifted the Rivermen, who didn't have a lot of buzz in the offseason, but have really picked up steam, especially with their 3-1 start to the season.
Time outside the numbers, complete past the 40. Michael Osbury, wide receiver one, makes the catch for the Claws, 13-yard pickup and a move of the chains.
Yeah, what New Orleans wants to do is, try to simplify the passing game, Turillo. I mean, when you look at their weapons compared to some of the weapons around the league, they just don't have that one guy. And I don't think we're going to see Lafouche throwing 50-yard moon balls like a certain someone's quarterback here tonight.
We'll keep that completely out of the conversation. I'm still getting over the Florida game from earlier today.
Too soon, I'm sorry.
Goes for 2 yards. I think the most important thing for New Orleans offense that I can is just keeping control of the ball, because St. Louis is third in the league in average time of possession at over 26 minutes a night. That is a wrestle down in the backfield for the Rivermen. Tavares Blue on the tackle.
And St. Louis does that with Koizumi's legs, who you were talking about earlier. Junior McCray, their running back, has 356 yards, and she has 283 on the ground, almost more than her running back. And Junior's averaging 4.7 yards a carry and has 6 touchdowns. So St. Louis is a very good rushing attack. They keep teams off the field.
Play action. Lafouche takes off, wrestled to the ground right at the midfield logo, but he's 2 yards short, 4th and 2. Big tackle from the secondary by Klesme Snow Jr.
Am I saying this right, Karen, in the chat? Koizumi? Maybe Koizumi? He's leaving the phonetics for us, Turillo, so, we just try to. Looks like New Orleans is going to punt on 4th and 2. Here early on in this game.
Yeah, doesn't want to take the chance. 4th and 2 at midfield. That punt goes into the end zone and gives the ball back to Koizumi and Junior McCray and company. Although we saw 3 passes and a punt from St. Louis on their first drive, Cam. A little bit of a change up from what we expected in this run-heavy offense. They'll start at their own 20. I formation here. I would expect a run. No, they throw a screen out to the right-hand side, and nothing much doing that time for Central Howes.
Howes has been playing some really good football lately. He's got 185 yards and 2 scores, but that time he really needed to kind of stick outside. Actually got a good block down the field, and yeah, St. Louis feeling the advantage in the pass early on.
Koizumi in the gun, time to check it down to the right-hand side. Just get a couple more. That's her first pass completion.
Is that 5 straight passes, Turillo?
It is.
60 outlaw. Let's put them on the buses. Let's put that team on the
But now faced with 3rd and 7, they're going to have to go through the air again. Koizumi down the field. And it's high-pointed at midfield. Oh, no, it's dropped.
Oh.
They said Wells couldn't hang on to the football. I thought he hauled that in.
Wow, we're going to get another look at that, because I must have happened right at the end. Oh, that second guy came over, and it was just kind of a collision, a car crash at midfield, Turillo, because I think he would have held on to that otherwise. But a nice pass breakup. I think that was Jameis Franklin coming over late.
It was indeed Franklin with the big hit. Here's a chance for a return for New Orleans. Only up to the 30-yard line. New Orleans coming in 28th in total points scored in the league, 84, and 29th in points per game at 16. But if they can get the ball in the red zone, which they haven't done too much, they're 100% inside the 20 with 8 touchdowns and 3 field goals. Lafouche going to take off again, doing his best Koizumi impression, and he slides down near midfield.
And one of the reasons they've been so good in the red zone is because he has had a nose for the end zone. Whiskey Lafouche, 6 rushing touchdowns and 1 passing touchdown this year, which is just crazy. But he's gotten all of those rushing touchdowns inside the 20. Teams have just had such a hard time stopping him, and he is not afraid to take off and run. And so far, it's the Claws winning the early field position battle.
And when we were talking before the game, as here's a handoff to Chapatulis, she gets 2. When we were talking before the game, you compared Lafouche rather favorably to an old-time Pittsburgh quarterback.
Yeah, maybe the later years Roethlisberger. Lafouche still has a lot to prove in the passing game.
2nd and 7, check down to the flat, nothing doing. Nice tackle by Darby Clements, the corner, and it is 3rd down and 5. Neither offense really getting involved here early on. New Orleans maybe having the slightly better of the early exchanges. Had the ball barely inside the 50 twice. Here's 3rd down and 5. Lafouche going to take off again. He's got it and then some to the 30. And he takes a big shot at the 28-yard line. 44 yards on the ground for Lafouche in the first quarter.
Of the 50 rushing yards for New Orleans in the first half, and he's got 10 times more yards than St. Louis in the first quarter. And it's New Orleans kind of beating St. Louis at their own game right now, Tarillo. They're the ones keeping possession, keeping the Rivermen off the field, and for St. Louis, they've gone 6 straight passes, no runs. New Orleans has gone the opposite, but neither team has found points yet.
Inside the 30 now. There's Chapatulis. Trying to break a tackle, didn't get there. Dragged down by the number 1 corner on this Rivermen squad, Chris Reed.
They're leaving on all the Yugo players on the edge of their seat, kind of tapping their pencil or phone or whatever against the desk, waiting for our first points here.
2nd and 9, hand off. Chapatulis going backwards. 5 carries for 8 yards, and it's 3rd down and 9. Well, the Yugo players in the first block, Cam, were eating good. We had, 3 safeties? And all sorts of wacky numbers.
Yeah, 27 of 51 numbers called, over half of them, which is pretty impressive. But also impressive was Dynamite McCray shooting that gap for St. Louis. He is such a excellent player at free safety. He can do anything that St. Louis needs him to do, and that leaves New Orleans puzzled here on a 3rd down and 9. They're going to have to sling it down the field.
3rd and 9, Lafouche going to have to throw for it. He's in the gun. He steps back to pass. Plenty of time. Now he takes off and is ripped down from behind. Here's Big Mac, Maple Mac, with the sack.
Maple Mac helping this team out. That is his 2nd and a half sack, but helping this team out front. They've actually been pretty lethal. They're not Vegas Devils quality of a pass rush, Cirillo, but they're pretty good. And Lafouche that time just put himself in some trouble. Maybe got a little bit too cocky running the football.
And the kick is going to be well short and bang off the uprights. And New Orleans gets nothing. Sorry, Yugo players.
Hit the crossbar. And, yeah, I thought it was going to be well short, but it almost got there. And, yeah, not to be. So New Orleans drive ends up. And if Maple Mac gets 1 less yard on that sack, St. Louis is down 3-0. But the Rivermen can kind of wipe their hands of their first 2 drives that went 3 and out and, hey, kind of reset some things, a scoreless ball game.
Negative field position for St. Louis here. At their own 37. Handoff middle. Junior McCray weaving his way to midfield.
By the way, that was St. Louis's 16th sack of the season. Their upper half in the UFL so far this season. But there's your run, Tarillo. Finally, St. Louis saying, okay, I guess we're not going to be able to pass on these dudes. Let's get back to what we know. That's a great run for Junior.
And maybe because of the fact that they're so good at running the ball, St. Louis is first in the league in 3rd down percentage at over 60%. Koizumi wide open over the middle. Camille Wells all the way down inside the New Orleans 30.
Koizumi, a pretty underrated passer. 72% completion percentage, Tarillo, and only 3 picks and 6 touchdowns this season, but a long of 35, right? Not going to take the top off the defense necessarily, but will hit the open man, and she faced plenty of pressure in the pocket that time, and Wells helps her out down the field, hauling that in and getting some yak.
Finally, the St. Louis offense has arrived in the ball game after 2 3-and-outs. And they're going to continue spreading this offense out with 4 wide. They're going to run the ball from the shotgun. Great cut in the open field by McCray as he dives forward for an 11-yard pickup and a first down.
Junior trying to add on to his touchdown totals as he gets St. Louis into the red zone. The Rivermen's only loss this season came against Dallas, 24-14 in another primetime game, but they've rattled off a couple of pretty impressive wins against some teams below 500. They're trying to do the same against New Orleans a third straight week.
Of course, Dallas 5-0. Cincinnati maintained their undefeated record with a win earlier on this evening. Flag flies as lay a game on St. Louis there.
That hurts. Scoreless first quarter, and Koizumi trying to be consoled after just not having a sense of urgency. And you see Anthony comes over and kind of gives a half-hearted there. That's not right.
Well, first and 15 now, just outside the red zone. Another handoff. McCray trying to bounce it outside. He gets lit up at the 20-yard line.
Nice stop at the backfield.
3-yard gain. First and 15 to second and 12. That's the end of the first quarter. A scoreless first quarter. Lots of yards, no points between St. Louis and New Orleans. This is the UFL on the Virtual Football Network. We'll change sides of the field. My name is Michael Toretto. Happy to have your company. Cameron Irvine, a UFL co-founder, joins me in the booth. Bouncing outside is McCray. Breaks a tackle, gets inside the 15. Will still bring up a 3rd and 6. In chip shot field goal range here, Cam. But you want 7 if you're St. Louis.
St. Louis in that first quarter, 5 runs, 5 passes, actually have 124 runs, 116 passes through 4 games.
And they'll pick up the first down inside the 5. Camille Wells has been massive on this drive.
Now 6 runs and 6 passes. So St. Louis, it was almost kind of like that. Maybe they tried to catch New Orleans off by surprise in that in the early part of that first quarter. But once that didn't work, they've really settled in here, and the pressure is now on the Claws defense to keep this game scoreless.
Rivermen at the 3-yard line. Koizumi gonna try and run for it out of the shotgun, and she's wrestled down for a 7-yard sack.
And that's huge for New Orleans because they've really struggled defensively in the red zone. They've given up 11 touchdowns this season. That's tied for 6th worst, and 15 of 16 total conversions. So they're letting teams in and they're letting teams score. That sack could really help them out to hold St. Louis to 3 and force Karen into some difficult passing situations.
2nd and goal. They're going to run the ball, and the play gets blown up. My goodness. What a hit in the backfield. Bryce Riley, the linebacker on a weak side blitz, was all over that one.
Wow. You got to block that guy. Nobody picks him up. And that's got to be Riley's easiest tackle of his career. I mean, he basically sauntered over to the running back and scooped him up and set him down. Now it's 3rd and long.
That's like warm-up training dummy drill right there.
Come on, set. 18 Gator.
3rd and goal now. They've gone from 1st and goal at the 2 to 3rd and goal at the 12. Koizumi throws underneath. McCray nowhere near it. And it's going to be a hold in the red zone for the Claws. Will force a St. Louis field goal.
Yeah, that's a safe play. You know, scoreless game. I think St. Louis probably feels pretty comfortable about, how they move the football on that drive. Didn't want to force it. Defense is playing well. Take the 3. Make the Yugo fans happy out there, and take the lead in this ball game. Don't mind the call.
This will be just a 24-yarder, I believe. It's up and good. So St. Louis saw the board, 9:10 to go in the 2nd quarter. And now New Orleans playing from behind. We've got our first You Go numbers, 27 and 3.
Yeah, you did everyone that has the number 24 real dirty on that,
It's not their fault I can't count them.
Can you imagine sitting at home? Oh, I got 24. Ah. Bummer. But a good drive from St. Louis. I mean, that's what you want to see out of the Rivermen. And, they're look, every game matters for St. Louis because they're competing in the toughest division in the league right now.
And so you can't allow a game like this to get away from you. Not that the Claws are an easy opposition, but you look at the records coming in and you look at the teams above you in the standings. I mean, you've already lost to Dallas. Wichita's flying high. You can't really afford to drop games like this if you want to be competitive in the division.
Yeah, and St. Louis is in the midst of a 4-game homestand, and their next game is that rematch against Dallas here in this building. So they'd love to go into that game with a lot of momentum, 4-1 record, and get the crowd behind them.
Bubble screen, left side, not going to go much of anywhere. O.J. Marsh made the catch for the Claws, 3-yard pickup.
LaFouche, 4 for 4 start, not bad.
Nothing really vertical yet. Everything's been screens and little short passes. Nice cut by Chapatulis. Still only averaging just over 2 yards a carry. 3rd down and 2 now for New Orleans.
Yeah, and one of the things they might look to do is get her a little bit more involved. 77 carries through 5 games. Just may not be enough for a player of her caliber.
3rd and 2. Chapatulis again. Easy as you like. Great job by the offensive line, and it's a 1st down for the Claws.
She's so physical inside Torillo that it's just it's tough not to just be a little boring with her, right? Just run right up the gut, right behind your center. The line got good penetration there, and you see a nice chip by the tight end coming around. That's what New Orleans wants to do. They're not flashy, they're not fancy. They're kind of like their city, right? Just hometown cooking.
And in motion, fake the jet sweep, and oh, that was close. Chapatulis had one man to beat and got chopped down for a 2-yard gain.
St. Louis's defense doing a pretty good job of open field tackling. They've had to make some difficult plays, and they're not allowing New Orleans any extra yards right now.
Quick pass goes to no man's land for Whisker LaFouche, and that brings up 3rd and 8.
You know what that was, Torillo? That was seeing ghosts. Did you see the pressure right in the face of Whisker LaFouche? He's probably telling the ref, I swear I saw a guy over there. That he just had to get rid of that.
He's got time now, and a laser beam to the 40. That one is caught and hung on to despite a massive hit by the DB, Darby Clements. Osbury with the catch for the Claws.
To answer your question, Joe, in the chat, there's been about 200 players claimed out of maybe about 700 available. So I'd say it's about, or maybe actually 700 is a strong number. I'd say it's somewhere between 20 and 40%, but I got to get that updated number out there.
1st and 10 into St. Louis territory. Play action. LaFouche going deep, and underneath, Osbury again inside the 20.
That was really nice, really well done. Even fooled me, Torillo, on that play fake. You know, you're kind of lulling them to sleep, and Osbury looked like he may have been even in the middle of a double move right there, and he just kind of cuts it short. Good recognition by LaFouche that the corner was kind of playing off, and he could get it to Osbury early to avoid any unnecessary pressure inside. It's a really nice read by LaFouche.
Inside the red zone now for the Claws. They are 100% on the season, have not gotten inside the red zone without scoring. That time, Chapatulis not going much of anywhere, 2nd and 9. But contrary to that, St. Louis has one of the better red zone defenses in the league. Only 73% in the red zone are opponents of the St. Louis Rivermen. 2 touchdowns and 1 downs. Almost a 3rd interception there as that pass was almost blown up. 3rd and 9.
Yeah, I didn't like that as much from Whisker. That's kind of a quick fire decision. Everybody's coming in on a curl. You're trying to make it more 3rd and manageable. but the timing was just off. This is an interesting formation here.
3rd and 9, can get a first down inside the 2. Lafouche going there, it's close. We'll see where they spot it. The catch was made by Chapatulis at a 1st and goal.
Perfect throw on 3rd and 9. I mean, exactly what you want, Torillo, in that situation. Dynamite McCray makes the stop, but just a perfect play call for New Orleans. And the clock, Michael, is evaporating in this first half. We're now under 5 minutes to go in the second quarter because both teams are being efficient and effective, just low scoring.
High formation. Handoff, fullback, touchdown, New Orleans. Jarman Tate punches it in. And the 100% red zone completion record continues for the Claws.
I love that. That guy does not have a carry on record. Look at him, just sitting on the pile, bulling through, and New Orleans takes the lead. That was a patient, balanced, effective drive by the Claws, and Lafouche made the plays when he had to. No rushing touchdown in the red zone now for Lafouche, but another strong New Orleans drive finished and capped off inside the 20 with a touchdown. And their red zone efficiency is keeping them in a lot of games. Torillo, that was a great drive.
Jarman Tate, not the biggest fullback in the world, just 6'1", 263, but did enough, had enough head of steam to get in. And now it's St. Louis looking up at a 4-point deficit here towards the end of the first half. And you called it. This first half is going away quick. The sand draining through the hourglass, just like in that Rochester Motor City game earlier tonight.
Well, that game was nuts. And when you look at the final score, 10-8, you go, wow, what a terrible game. I can't think of a time the offense played poorly. You know, Jack Brown had a couple of picks, but they were brilliant plays by Rochester. And, yeah, that was a fantastic game. It's worth another look going back later tonight.
Junior McCray, 6 carries, 29 yards tonight.
Let's go. 60 Pittsburgh.
Izumi, I'm not sure, has run the ball yet.
I don't think so.
It will be McCray up the gut inside the 30-yard line. Good start, 7-yard pickup for St. Louis. And I think it's still early enough that the Rivermen can still play their own game, continue to run the football, and try and eat up some of this clock. Delayed handoff, great burst of speed. McCray still going, cross the 50, one man to beat. Left-hand sideline, inside the 20, goodbye! Touchdown, St. Louis, 68 yards. Junior McCray says, how do you like that?
Just one off his season high. We had no plays, Torillo, really of, what, 20 yards or more in this game? Homer J just gets just enough of a couple of guys in the secondary that are much smaller than he is. And McCray's in the end zone for his 7th rushing touchdown of the season. Junior, Dynamite, Maple Mac, the guys that have come on later in this process, in this rebuilding process for St. Louis, have really been a huge help, huge boost to this team. And that was a huge boost for St. Louis, whose crowd was kind of being lulled to sleep there for a little while. They're back in front.
2 plays, 75 yards, 45 seconds. Love to see it. Well, they tried to run the ball. They tried to play conservative. And Junior McCray just said, get out of here with that nonsense. So 10-7 St. Louis, 3:42 to go. Here in the second quarter, New Orleans going to get the ball back after a nice drive of their own previously to put a touchdown on the board. So we may be looking at more offensive efficiency tonight.
And Junior McCray came into the week leading the league in rushing touchdowns with 6 and just tacked on another one now with 7.
I'm not sure you have the ability to just spit this stat out, but what's the longest run of the season by a running back? That's got to be up there.
Oh, I certainly do. You do not underestimate my abilities.
Ah.
60 outlaw.
The longest, I have it right here. The longest run is 82 yards. That was Al Ingram the third and Isaiah Fowler So it's up there. Let's see. That would be the 8th longest run of the season.
Puts the Rivermen on top 10-7. 5-yard run by Chapatoulis. First play from scrimmage. Backing up into the gun, here's Lafouche. Chapatoulis on his left hip. Lafouche goes deep on a quick trigger, and it's picked off. Wrestled away from O.J. Marsh. Taken away by Darby Clements. And St. Louis has all the momentum right now.
Clements is unclaimed. He's a really good player. I have seen enough St. Louis Rivermen football to know that this guy deserves to be claimed. Just an excellent job. I think Chapatoulis may have thought that. Did you see how his intended receiver just kind of turned and realized, oh, I'm not getting to this football. I don't know if he ran the wrong route or what happened on that play, but a really nice heads-up play by Clements to steal a possession for the Rivermen. And just like that, Torillo, all the momentum with St. Louis after the McCray run and the interception on the ensuing play.
Well, a 70-yard touchdown run will do that for you. Here's McCray again. That time going to get about 74 yards less than he did on that touchdown.
Cut him.
Oh, and they're going to give the yards right back to St. Louis with an offsides.
Wow, so that's a delay of game and an offside here in the first half for New Orleans. They're trying to get their communications together. You know, I'm sure their loss to New York was, it was a gut punch because they had a chance on the road to win that game. They kind of let it slip away down the stretch in regulation. They had plenty of opportunities to win it, and they couldn't get it done. And that's going to be a first down for St. Louis. But now New Orleans, it almost kind of seems like it's bleeding into this week. Their devastation. They've got to get right now.
New York seems to be good at doing that to teams, don't they?
Let's go.
Well, I wasn't.
1st and 10 for St. Louis. Listen, if I bring it up, it's fun.
Oh, okay.
2-minute warning. It'll be a first down for St. Louis. They're trying to increase their 3-point lead for the half here on Virtual Football Network. Look at this formation. 2-by-2. Everybody spread out. Michael Torillo, Cameron Irvin live from St. Louis. Koizumi goes underneath. Koizumi 6 of 9, 46 yards. Very efficient so far.
They haven't had the ball very much. You had that one explosive run, and then New Orleans had that blood-sucking drive in the second quarter.
Koizumi, pressure from the backside, gets it away. Caught by Centrell House. 3rd down and 1, a yard short of the line to gain. Fletcher made the stop.
Yeah, nice stop by Fletcher. Good open field tackle to force him into a 3rd and short.
They'll throw for it. Koizumi over the middle, knocked away. Was looking for Shane Sorowski on the crosser. And it'll be 4th and 1, so a decision point here for St. Louis.
Yeah, they could go for this. I think that might have been Jay there at the end that couldn't hold on to that. Either way, though, 4th and 1, decision time for St. Louis. And I got the momentum. I'm thinking about going for this, but they're going to kick.
They're going to kick. Just inside of 40 yards away, and it's blocked, snubbed out, erased, picked up by the claws, and this one could go back all the other way.
Goodbye.
Touchdown, New Orleans. Adios, amigos. Wow. Jameis Franklin, the corner.
Wow. And you could hear a pin drop in here. St. Louis had all the momentum. They had a 4th and 1. They could have gone for it. They say, you know what? We'll just take the points because we got all the momentum and we don't want to lose it. Except for the fact that you got to block the guy coming in around the end, and New Orleans makes a huge special teams play. And just like that, have the lead again. This has been a roller coaster of emotions here in the second quarter.
14-10 New Orleans. It's been punch, counter punch, just like any good boxing match.
Two touchdowns of 50-plus yards in a first half that otherwise hasn't had any plays, Torillo, I don't think, of over 20 yards. So it's been all or nothing.
Yep.
here tonight so far.
And it's been a good night for the safety, Jameis Franklin. Had a pass deflection and now picked up that block and ran it all the way back for 6. But that's also the second time tonight that we've seen the offensive line for St. Louis just kind of evaporate on an edge rush. We saw it once when they were down in the red zone that first time and were forced to kick a field goal. And now we saw it again on special teams.
All right, so St. Louis has to regroup. They have 3 timeouts, 1 minute and 3 seconds left. They're on their own 25, so they're going to start aggressive. They just got to put something together, even if it's just 3 points, to try to curb some momentum. And you see Junior McCray kind of giving a pep talk to the rest of his troops.
Empty backfield, though. McCray's going to be all the way to the inside in this 5-wide set plus the tight end. Koizumi, quarterback draw! 9 yards and an excellent play call. That's her first rush of the night.
Yeah, clear it all out and see what you can do with it. And that one probably felt good for Karen because she's not used to being contained as she's been here in the first half.
Now you go jumbo set, 2 in the backfield. Koizumi going to take off again. Second straight draw. Oh, what a move! In the middle. Breaking tackles to the 45-yard line. Timeout, St. Louis.
Okay, well, that's one way to get to near midfield. 35 seconds left, 2 timeouts. Look, anytime she's on the field, you got to watch out for her. So shifty. Yeah, that's not the best matchup for New Orleans, but I'll give the Claws a lot of credit. They've done a nice job on her, but if they allow her to drive all the way down the field and get a field goal here, that is not going to feel good.
2 timeouts, 35 seconds left. They're on their own 35. Koizumi going to throw for it. This time to the near side, caught at midfield. Turning it upfield is Jay. He gets bumped out of bounds in plus territory at the 45-yard line.
If I saw Homer Jay in the back alley, I think I'd run the other way. That guy's a monster. He's just so big out there. 6'2", 245, but he plays much bigger.
Koizumi over the middle, space to run. McCray again. Wrestled down just outside the 22nd timeout for the Rivermen.
New Orleans is really struggling. When they put Junior McCray out wide and run like just a little slant with McCray, they do not have a matchup for that. And St. Louis starting to exploit that here down the stretch in this second quarter. But Junior McCray, as a pass catcher, has been a big threat in this one.
He's to the left hip of Koizumi. 3 wide outs. He'll stay back to block. He picks up a great block, and Koizumi picks up a dart inside the 5-yard line.
It's going to be close, Torillo. If they can get another playoff here, they'll call a timeout with 5. They're going to get up to the line. I'm just not sure they're going to be able to get it off in time. They'll settle for 3.
Ooh. That was the first catch by Marquez Hagans. Hagans, the primary kickoff and punt returner for this St. Louis squad, is actually 5th in the UFL in total yards per game at 139.
Almost perfection on that drive, Torillo, but St. Louis,
Oh, they're going for it.
Wow, this is aggressive.
Here we go. Last play of the first half. Trying to take the lead. Koizumi, open pocket, throws back in the end zone, tipped, and incomplete.
Wow.
And the Claws defense says, you get nothing. Good half, sir. We'll take the lead into the break.
You know what? And they were going to take the lead into the break anyway, right? And I think St. Louis figured, okay, we got a shot. Let's take our shot. We're feeling pretty good. But now you look up at the score, 211 yards in the first half, and you're trailing because of that blocked field goal. I'm a little surprised, Torillo, that they did that. I think that's the first time I've seen a team get ultra aggressive like that in a first and goal situation. Maybe the chat can tell us if they like the aggressive nature of that play or not. Of course, hindsight's 20/20. But yeah, little bit of surprising play for St. Louis. Good play call. Surprised Karen didn't take off and run. St. Louis a little discombobulated in that first half.
St. Louis, thanks to the big run by McCray, has dominated rushing yards, but I love the balance for New Orleans so far. 71 passing yards, 75 rushing yards, and the Claws get the ball to start this second half with a 14-10 lead.
And I tell you what, continues to be a giant tease for Hugo players because that was another opportunity taken away by the missed opportunity of St. Louis. So New Orleans, not necessarily the prettiest first half, just that one turnover. But they got to feel pretty good about where they sit right now. And besides that interception, LaFouche has been pretty solid.
I got those backwards. Sorry, 75 passing yards, 71 rushing yards. Still pretty much 50-50 for New Orleans in the first half. It'll be a play-action fake. Quick toss to the near side numbers for a couple yards. LaFouche, first play from scrimmage.
New Orleans with a win could get to 3-3. The Atlantic at 3-3, much more wide open than the Central, with Miami dropping a couple of games. So this could really get the. Oh wow, Ray.
Wow, Chapatulis lowering the shoulder and says, "Give me that first down."
This could get the Claws back into division contention as they see it. And hey, every time they've lost this season, they've won. They're 2-0 after a loss. They're trying to make it 3-0.
That time the delayed handoff not going much of anywhere. Mack again with the stop. He's had a good night, 2 tackles.
I like what he brings up front for the Rivermen. It's not all just about the McCrays. You got some beef up there in front too.
Strong side handoff, but the pressure comes from the back end. Big tackle. Another one for loss by the Rivermen.
And blowing that play up. Look at the corner. Look at the corner. Number 22, Devon Palmer, really kind of destroyed that whole play. And one of the things I noticed about St. Louis, maybe more so than other teams in the UFL, Chirillo, is they're just so quick defensively. They got a lot of guys in the secondary that can really disrupt what you're trying to do on offense.
3rd and 12, 4-man rush. LaFouche going to try and squeeze his way through. He does get through, but he's not going to be close to the first down. Wrestled down in space by Deshaun Joseph. Correction, Snow made that tackle. And it's 4th and 5. Nothing open downfield. Good stop by the Rivermen.
I mean, I'm just glad he didn't get killed behind the line of scrimmage because there wasn't much room to run there. I think Wiska just playing it safe. 19 runs, 11 passes here in the early going, but New Orleans has the lead. No reason to throw another pick there.
Answering the question in the chat, who's still undefeated? It's just Dallas and Cincinnati. That's it. That's all that's left.
Let's go.
And, well, sorry, man, Mike, you're really making it difficult for me to talk about a lot of topics on the show today, because then I was going to talk about the other side of the standings, but sorry.
Yes,
your Florida Sharks, man. We gotta get right. Gotta get right.
Deep field position for St. Louis here inside the 10. Koizumi, nice blitz pickup from the back end, and Jay's running free past the 30-yard line.
In a league full of pressure or protection issues and sack problems, that was brilliant from Junior McCray on that blitz pickup to spring Homer J free down the field. I mean, just excellent job, because that could have been a safety. That could have been big time trouble. Junior McCray, the MVP on that play for sure.
St. Louis has allowed the 3rd fewest sacks in the league this season, just 9. And McCray, knifing his way through the defense, picks up 8.
Up to 115. That's getting close to 500 on the season. One of the best backs in the league.
Single back, delayed handoff. The offensive line does a great job again, making it so easy for Junior McCray to push forward for another first down.
And the poor center, Jackson Crosby, gets run over by his own man. Junior McCray pushed him to the ground and said, "Thanks for nothing." It just kept on going.
Get out of my way. I got places to be.
He's unbelievable. He's the best player on the field right now, and that's why it's so surprising St. Louis is still trailing.
McCray, another big hole up the middle. That time the center redeemed himself. I'm assuming McCray went back to the huddle after that previous play and went, hey, man, I already got enough to deal with. I already got 11 of those guys to avoid. Don't make me avoid you, too.
Yeah, they're feeding him right now. They can sense it.
Second and inches. Koizumi going to throw for it. Over the middle. Knocked down. Big, strong hand of Quentin Fletcher.
I think that Koizumi thought that Fletcher was going to take the back, Junior McCray, out of the backfield, and he didn't. He ended up going in the middle of the field and kind of tricked her.
Third and less than a yard. The play action fake to McCray. Koizumi goes it back to McCray. That play was all kinds of out of sync, and the Claws are going to get off the field here.
Wow, that's big. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, St. Louis #1 in the league in third down conversions. Karen is one of, if not the best quarterbacks at play action passing, play action fakes in the league. And New Orleans was, they were wise to it. They know that Junior McCray's been the leader of this offense tonight, and they had 2 on him. Biggest stop of the game for New Orleans. They're going to get the ball back.
Interesting read. Not often do I see a play action fake with an end around, and then they go back to the back who they play actioned away from on the same play.
Oh, good punt.
That is a great punt down inside the 5, but that might be one for St. Louis to review and go, well, we may not want that play in the playbook anymore.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, Torillo, with the way that the UFL adjusts everything. I mean, unless St. Louis just all of a sudden gets horrible on third down, you just chalk that up to just not the right play in the right moment against the right defense. It could work next week, They've been really good on third down this year, but that was a blip.
I was about to say watch out for the potential blitz, but the ball was already out of the hands of LaFourche. And a tackle made for no gain on the far side by Chris Reed.
Those smoke plays are feast or famine. Sometimes they work out really well, sometimes they don't. Just depends on what the coverage is. Oh.
Chapatulis, chopped down, going backwards. Oh, forward progress is going to give her to the 1-yard line. Tackle for loss for Edwards.
Well, we've seen about 80 safeties tonight. Well, how about another one?
And by 80, you mean 4.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I went to the Torillo School of Math, so I was just estimating.
That's I don't know, man. That's a generous spot.
Yeah,
I agree. That's a very generous spot. 5 minutes to go in the third. St. Louis still down 14-10. They give the ball to the fullback. Well, Jarman Tate's already scored a touchdown, but that time backed up to his own end zone. He gets hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah, they were just trying to get the punter some more space, but that center got worked. Maple Mack, I mean, right in your living room, making that play just south of the goal line. He's been a difference maker up front. Great stop for the Rivermen.
The Claws are going to get great field position. Sorry, the Rivermen are going to get great field position because the Claws are punting out of their own end zone. Still a decent punt at the 45, breaking a tackle and 2, and positive field position after an 11-yard return by Wilburn.
All right. Well, it's been the Junior McCray show. I would expect that to continue. It's not that Koizumi is playing bad. It just doesn't feel like her night right now. New Orleans has done a pretty nice job on her.
Koizumi, deep middle, wide open. At the 20-yard line, is that Jay again? You betcha. 23-yard pickup.
As I was saying, she's having a fantastic night, and they're just going to keep going to her. Homer Jay, 4 catches, 68 yards, and you can't get more open than that in between the hash marks, Torillo. There was just nobody on him. I don't know what that coverage is called, maybe cover 5 bubble, where it's just a giant hole in the middle of the field. I don't know, but that did not work for New Orleans. Jay was all alone.
I thought New Orleans sent an extra linebacker that time, and that's why the middle was wide open. Handoff. McCray. That might be his worst run of the night. Just a 1-yard pickup.
And New Orleans' red zone defense held to a field goal the last time St. Louis was down here. If they could do that again, and that goes back to that end of second half decision for St. Louis to go for it, still stuck at 10.
Here's the blitz. Koizumi rushes through it. She's to the 10, to the 5. Adios! Touchdown, St. Louis.
And that's why she's one of the best quarterbacks in the UFL. You just cannot lose contain. There's nobody on the back end. They're not fast enough to get to her. And the gold-plated shoes strike again in the end zone. Man, you just kind of shake your head and tip your cap. That's just an incredible play.
Give an assist to Homer J on that one, because he blocked the corner all the way into the end zone on that run.
I'm telling you, he's a dark alley nightmare.
St. Louis takes the lead back 17-14. I guess you give another assist to the St. Louis defense for getting the good field position.
Good game we got going here. I mean, the Claws are hanging in there. We know how talented that St. Louis is and how well they've been playing. New Orleans is just they've been playing so much better over the last. They lost to Rochester 27-10, and in that game they really just did not have anything going for them. But since then, in the last month or so, New Orleans has been playing this style of football. They let Karen out one too many times on that drive. Now they got to respond.
Still plenty of time left, 3:09 to go in the third. This has been an enjoyable football game so far. 17-14. For UFL schedules, standings, stats, rankings, and more, visit the league website at ufl.football and claim your player today. You can help your favorite team succeed there too by just being a fan and declaring your fandom. UFL.football, the official home of everything UFL. Claws back down with 3:09 to go. Chapatula's trying to get in on the running game, but Hopkins says no thank you. Just a 1-yard pickup that time.
We're starting to fill up a little bit. That was an 18-yard touchdown run for Koizumi, and St. Louis has 17 on the board now.
Oh, look out. Mack knifes through the offensive line and drops Chapatula's for a big loss.
Yeah, that's his third TFL, and this is one of the problems with New Orleans offense right now, Torillo, is if you're going to be a team that wants to just pound the rock up the gut, you got to get blocks up front. And they're getting killed inside with the guards and center. Maple Mack is destroying New Orleans offense right now. And Fletcher's sitting there on the sideline with his defense going, oh my gosh, we just cannot block for anything.
3rd and 12, going to be on the arm of LaFouche here. Wiska, deep shot, threw it out of bounds. Had Cameron Bailey open, but just completely missed him. And a 3-and-out for New Orleans, second straight 3-and-out for the Claws. And just like the end of the first half, all the momentum's with St. Louis. The Claws got it back with a great special teams play and then a nice stop on a 4th down attempt.
That's such a missed opportunity. I mean, like you said, he had Bailey open. He just simply missed him. What a disappointment there for New Orleans.
I want to go back to that 4th down stop right at the end of the first half, because before today's game, New Orleans defense was not great on 4th down. They were 4 of 5 in opponent first downs. That means opponents had converted 4 of 5 4th down conversions.
Little by little, you chip away and try to get better.
Koizumi, strike to Jay. How good has he been?
Just uncoverable. I mean, I want to see an angle here. I'm going to get the angle. No, we're not going to get the angle. It's Homer J. It's almost like he has a force field around him, Torillo. Wherever he runs, there's nobody there. It's just like they have had no answer for him. Nice tackle there by Toulouse, but they've just had no answer for him, and you could see in the total yards, 328 to 159. St. Louis trying to shut the door. Oh.
Gonna do it like that. I'm not even sure who that was. That was tight end 3, Torres Thomas.
Yeah, that's.
And maybe that's why he is tight end 3.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, not the best. He's not going to get many opportunities tonight.
2nd and 10. They go roll out for McCray. Picks up maybe 2. 3rd down and 8.
And I like that play for St. Louis, Turillo, because what they're doing is they're saying, okay, are you going to go with McCray or are you going to go with Koizumi? If you go with one, we're going to do the other. But that time, New Orleans, again, sniffed it out. They're keeping them contained.
3rd and 8. Now the pressure breaks down, and only the 10th sack allowed of the season for St. Louis will end the drive. Look at the big man putting up shots.
Yeah, it's really hard to get into St. Louis's backfield against either one of these great players. And that time Bush was just able to find some space and did a nice job making sure that Koizumi could not get away. That's just an excellent play on 3rd down. St. Louis just struggling a little bit on 3rd down tonight. It's keeping New Orleans in the game.
And for all the success that the Rivermen have had, oh, look at that punt. Return to sender back beyond the 20-yard line. As we reach the end of the 3rd quarter, 4's up. It's time for the final frame. We have got a good one under the dome in St. Louis. 17-14. Rivermen trying to keep pace in the division, as are the New Orleans Claws. Michael Toretto and Cameron Irvine bringing you all the action. LaFouche to the outside, almost breaking a tackle on that one was O.J. Marsh, but he only gets 4. New Orleans is going to have to turn the offense around, though. 2 straight 3-and-outs to end that 3rd quarter.
Yeah, they're a rhythm offense, and they can't get into rhythm if Maple Mac is blowing everything up and making it 2nd and 3rd and long.
Look out, here comes the red and blue wave again. It's not Mack this time, but it's still a sack by Kion Harrington.
LaFouche looking for something, anything, anywhere to go, and just got a face full. It just turned around right into Harrington. New Orleans offensive front really letting LaFouche down, because when he's had time to throw it, he's been pretty good tonight.
Bush on 3rd and 13. He's going to take off. Round the outside, he's got space, has a man to beat, but he's going to be wrestled down to the secondary by Darby Clemens. How good of a game has Clemens had tonight? A couple of nice open field stops and an interception.
6 tackles, I mentioned earlier. He's one of the best defenders, I think, in this league that is not claimed, and makes a really good open field tackle on LaFouche. But again, it's 3rd and long. This is not the type of team that is just going to break out for 30, 35-yard receptions down the field. They're not going to win a lot of one-on-one balls. It's not a good position for LaFouche and the offense to be in. And then when he tries to make plays with his feet and do it all himself, he can't make it happen. So St. Louis winning this game defensively on 1st and 2nd down right now.
And a complete flip from the first half, where New Orleans was in control for most of it. Took the lead into the half, but haven't gotten anything in the second. Still anybody's game, though. 17-14, 10 minutes left. Out to the outside. And running through a couple of arm tackles is Centrell Howes. That's the first time we've seen him in quite a while. Just 2 receptions for him.
If I'm St. Louis right now, New Orleans has played just good enough to hang around in this game. I want a touchdown on this drive, and I want to put them away.
Play action. Koizumi outside run, slides to avoid the tackle, 1st down. She had Bryce Riley full head of steam headed for her, and just decided to take the slide.
And even though she's averaging over 10 yards a carry, I really do like how New Orleans has you know, I guess controlled the uncontrollable. They haven't done as good of a job on McCray, but they're limiting her opportunities. And even when she was able to take off there, they had somebody gunning for her pretty quick.
Junior McCray came into the game 16th in the league in rushing yards and probably vaulted up those standings. And another guy who's vaulting up the standings is Homer Jay. Another nice catch along the sideline as St. Louis approaching the red zone. 100 yards on the night for Jay.
The Stars have come out to play for St. Louis, and that's the difference in this game right now, Tarillo, is St. Louis's Stars are doing whatever they want. Junior McCray, Homer Jay, Maple Mac, Dynamite McCray. We've mentioned them all pretty much all night. Every time they need a play, those guys are stepping up. So when you're getting that kind of production out of your star talent, you're really tough to beat.
Now under 8 minutes to go. McCray on a handoff. Great blocking in front of him as he gets 8. 149 for McCray, one shy of $150.
It's going to be really interesting to see how these teams try to evolve in the offseason from a personnel perspective. I can think of a couple things New Orleans might need.
Koizumi, here comes the blitz, and it forces an incompletion. There was a crossing pattern open, but just a little bit too much pressure there. 3rd and 2.
Junior McCray's season high for rushing yards is 150. Didn't we just have 149?
149, he needs 2 yards to break it. Might get that here in an I formation. It'll be another play fake. Koizumi back to McCray, and that's the exact same play that's been blown up a couple of times tonight.
Man, New Orleans is all over that. McCray 6 catches for 20 yards, but it's been that throwback, Tarillo, that is essentially, it's keeping New Orleans in the game. St. Louis cannot finish these drives, but all the credit in the world to New Orleans. They're making the open field tackles. They're making the stops. They're keeping this interesting. This is going to be a 44-yarder.
You talk about unclaimed players. Jameis Franklin has been unbelievable tonight. That time, no block on the field goal. It is good. So still a one-score game, 20-14. St. Louis goes up by 6. Yeah, Jameis Franklin on the New Orleans secondary has that pump block return for a touchdown and a nice tackles for loss on Junior McCray. But here we go again. New Orleans 3 straight 3-and-outs, and they've seen themselves go from a 14-10 lead to a 20-14 deficit here in the second half.
Yeah, just from a coding perspective, as the AI expert around here, it's very frustrating to see, St. Louis call that play multiple times when it hasn't worked on 3rd down. And sometimes, even though there's so many other plays that potentially could be called or of equal importance, sometimes it just, the game just favors certain plays. And sometimes you have to just completely get rid of them, and that's been one that St. Louis just can't let go of tonight. It's hurt them.
Lafouche sliding to avoid Chapatulis, almost ran into his own running back, gets 4 yards. But it's got to start, and it's got to start now for the visitors if they want any shot to come back in this one.
15 line. 15 line. Get it.
Lafouche, arm strength to fire it out back shoulder, but Tyrone Stevens knocks it away. The cornerbacks for the St. Louis Rivermen tonight, Clemens, Stevens, and Palmer, and Chris Reed, all spectacular.
Yeah, not a bad look from Lafouche at all, just a better play.
3rd and 6 into traffic. It's Stevens for the 2nd straight play, breaking it up, and the 4th straight 3-and-out for New Orleans. St. Louis has completely solved their offense here in the second half.
I think at 4th and 6, I think they might go for this. Let's see. Nope, they're going to punt. Nope. Okay, so they're going to play some defense. I think it's
still down by just 1 score with 6 minutes left. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I think at their own 29, I think that's the issue. If you nice return.
Oh no! Jump the broken tackle down the sideline. Oh, he almost got away. 1 man to beat for Wilson. He almost broke it.
That would have been our first punt return touchdown of the season. That guy's quick.
Was that the punt? That was the punter. Last man back, Ben Singer, the punter.
Wow. Oh, we're not going to see it. I wanted to see him crush him again.
That punter's head's going to be ringing. He ain't used to that.
Ready? 60 outlaw.
That was Milburn on the return, right?
It might have been. I saw
Just-
Wilson, but it might have been Milburn. Yeah, it was Milburn.
Just
And
16th.
off.
Go ahead, Trillis.
McCray up the middle.
Milburn just 16th, 4.2 average yards and punt returns, so hasn't lit the world on fire just yet this season, but that'll definitely raise his average. And St. Louis is going right back to what worked. 202 rushing yards tonight for the Rivermen now.
And off McCray. He gets back to the line of scrimmage. But with that 9-yard pickup on first down, McCray has broken his record for yards in a season at over $150.
3rd and 3. Somebody get a hold of that OC and say, if you call that play action roll to McCray one more time on 3rd and 3, someone's going to take your headset.
Well, that's the great thing about the UFL. The players on the teams have a chance to change things week to week. They go to the bubble screen. Ooh. Oh, what a move in the backfield. Camille Wells with the fancy footwork to move the chains.
See, that's why you have that play in your playbook, because if you've got the playmakers on the outside, they can do a lot of good for you. Look at her. Look at this pause. just making you think. I mean, turned into a painting out there.
Now you see me, now you don't, says Camille Wells. And good on Riley to come back and make the tackle after that, too.
Wow, great play. Good play call, too.
Just inside the 30, here's McCray again. Oh, reverses field and runs into Bryce Riley for no gain and even a loss of 1 on the play.
Riley's had a pretty good night, too. New Orleans, they just need more star power. They just need more firepower. They're a little flat right now, 6 weeks into the season. Just need a spark. They got a beautiful brand. Can't wait to see all the apparel that comes out with the New Orleans Claws as a fellow Louisiana resident. But, they just don't have the juice right now, and they don't have it in this 4th quarter either.
Koizumi, time in the pocket. Gets it out to Centrell House. And we talked about the star power of McCray and Homer J, but Centrell House, Camille Wells, and even Marquez Hagans have been really good secondary options for Koizumi tonight.
Yeah, Koizumi 20 for 28, over 200 passing yards. So St. Louis has over 200 on the ground, over 200 in the air, and it would be really devastating if they didn't get points on this drive, because really at this point it doesn't really feel like New Orleans should still be in this game, but they are. 3:10 left.
6-point game. Now New Orleans trying to hold to a field goal. It will be a 2-possession game. Koizumi drills a pass over the middle. That's Howes again inside the 10-yard line.
Second straight 3rd and short, Mike, that they have gone to something that they haven't really gone to all day long, right? And that's really good, diverse play calling there. From you see Junior McCray excited for his teammate down the field as they get into the red zone with the fist pump. He knows, he can feel it, so can these fans. Unless something catastrophic happens, St. Louis on their way to 4-1. New Orleans going to start calling timeouts here if they can get a stop.
2:30 and counting. First and goal from the 7. That's the first run for the backup running back, Alexander Clements, on the field. Timeout, New Orleans.
New Orleans comes back home, 3-game homestand. Florida, Houston, Charlotte coming up. Some winnable games on the schedule for the Claws. That New Orleans-Florida game is going to be very important to both teams.
Yeah. And 2 out of the 3 are divisional games.
Yep.
Of course, you already mentioned that St. Louis has got Dallas coming up. Koizumi to the goal line, just couldn't turn his hips. Could Camille Wells, and it's 3rd and goal.
So here we go, the 3rd consecutive 3rd down of 3 yards or less. Can St. Louis punch it in for a 3rd time?
McCray back in the backfield. He'll get the football, and the backside of the offensive line has not held their water in short yardage situations tonight. And it's a timeout for the Claws. They'll get another red zone half stop.
That's Brandon again with his 8th tackle for the Claws. A field goal going in likely puts this out of reach, but at least gives New Orleans a little bit of hope with one timeout and the 2-minute warning still.
23-14 as Bradley puts the field goal up and through. Still, what, a timeout plus the 2-minute warning for the Claws. So they got to go and go quickly. There's the updated bingo numbers. Nobody called bingo yet tonight, Cam?
No,
You're still
nothing.
bingo-less?
Had 5 on game night, but it's tough. Any bingo goes in prime time, but with just the one game, sometimes you really got to get a lot of shenanigans out here to maybe we'll start calling what 80% bingos when you get 4.
I want to talk about St. Louis a little bit because even though they look like they're likely to come away with this game right now, it hasn't been a perfect effort for them on the night. Yes, McCray's been good, but the short yardage play calling, I think, is something that they're going to have to look at as an adjustment that needs to be made. And also the missed opportunities, right? The 2 half stops inside the 5. They went for it on 4th down at the end of the first half and got nothing out of it. That's why they were behind at the half. The blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown by New Orleans. So just little things that didn't go their way tonight.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's see what New Orleans can do. Oh, boy, that was a bad play. That was probably Wiska's worst throw of the night. It was totally inaccurate. Outside of maybe that 3rd and long to Bailey that he couldn't connect on. But, yeah, I mean, St. Louis, every team has some things to work on, and they left a lot off the board here tonight. They really should have handled New Orleans a little bit more, but a win's a win. They can close it out.
Drilled backwards by Devon Palmer. 3rd down and 8. As we get the 2-minute warning, New Orleans, I believe, without a first down in the 4th quarter. It has been a blanket thrown over them by the St. Louis defense.
53, Mike. Guys, it's game situation. Let's go.
Dos minutos remaining here on UFL Primetime. LaFouche going deep, wide open over the middle. First down for the Claws, the first down of the 4th quarter. Worley makes his first catch of the night.
And New Orleans just hit 100 passing yards for the game.
Just now with 1:40 to go. LaFouche, again deep shot, this time O.J. Marsh. Probably the 2 best passing plays of the night for the Claws, back-to-back inside the last 2 minutes.
Well, and again, when LaFouche has had protection like he's had on these last couple of plays, he's been pretty great. I think the offensive line needs some fixing.
LaFouche has time. Now the pocket breaks down, and he's going down again. Mac, says Maple as he gets another sack.
Like hungry hippos.
I was going for Pac-Man, but
yeah, that works.
Also works. 2nd and 21. LaFouche dumps it off short to Tchoupitoulas, although it's been a tough night for Ray Tchoupitoulas because they've been behind for so much of the second half. They've kind of abandoned the run game a little bit.
They could take the 3 here, 3rd and 10, 38 seconds to go. Got the 1 timeout in their pocket. Blitz.
10 blitz coming.
Oh.
Fumble on the play. Ball loose on the ground. It's still picked up by LaFouche, but he's going to lose a bunch of yards. Delayed cornerback blitz. St. Louis having fun right now. Stevens just flew back there and it hit LaFouche on the blind side.
Ouch.
Now 4th and 26.
Ooh.
LaFouche going to throw for it all. He's got a man back there, but it's overthrown. LaFouche took a big shot as he let go of that ball.
And that's
that will be your ball game.
Boy, that had such promise, and it ended so quickly on New Orleans. LaFouche is kicking the ball, trying to pick it up in the backfield, gets absolutely nailed on 4th down. That drive is the way that this game felt, but the scoreboard didn't necessarily reflect. A nice win for St. Louis. New Orleans has to go back to the drawing board. It wasn't always pretty for the Rivermen, but they are 4-1 heading into that showdown with their division rivals.
Listen, I appreciate the plaudits in the chat. I love, like, Maple Mac. Names like that give you so much opportunity for nicknames and great calls and just have a chance to be fun with it. But St. Louis dominates the second half. They outscore the Claws in the second period, 13-0. And New Orleans only gets 2 first downs in the fourth quarter, both of them coming on that last drive. The scoreboard probably doesn't even make it look how dominant this game was. 23-14, Rivermen over the Claws. St. Louis goes to 4-1. They keep pace with Dallas and Wichita in that East Division. New Orleans goes to 2-4. They fall 2 games back in the Atlantic Division. Final words on this one, Cam?
Yeah, I think, star power for St. Louis won. And sometimes, sometimes it's all about caring. St. Louis cared a little bit more about winning this game. They are chasing a very tough Central Division. They had nearly 200 passing yards, 200 rushing yards. They averaged 7 yards a play. They disrupted New Orleans in the backfield. And, New Orleans is not the type of team to convert on 3rd and longs, and they didn't do it at all tonight. Great win for St. Louis. They got it done.
That'll do it for this edition of UFL Primetime here on a Tuesday night. Final stats and scores can be found on our website, UFL.com. For Cameron Irvine, producer extraordinaire and jumping on as broadcast analyst this evening, my name is Michael Strillo. It's been a pleasure to have your company here tonight on UFL Primetime. We will see you next time on the UFL.